Hello and welcome everybody. This is the second video I promised. Hopefully it's a lot shorter than the other one. We're going to be going over editing picture that we took with Vaonis Vespera. I'm just going to show you how I do things in PixInsight because I think some people, especially on Facebook, were getting a little bit confused or just wondering like how I did things. So again, the couple of things to pay attention to. One, everything I've picked up from other people, really helpful people on the forum, Ian, Susan, everybody else. They're really helpful. YouTube as well. Luca Matico here, big shout out because I'm going to use his icons. They're not the ones I normally use. I expanded on from that. This is how I started. You can download his own data, and in various videos you can walk through with him processing it. He tends to do, he's got a full rig. He's not using a smart telescope, so he has things that are filtered off, usually with a monochrome camera. So it'll have a filter of red, blue, green, sometimes with the luminance. So, and just to be aware that although what I'm going to show you today is narrowband processing in PixInsight with the dual band filter stuff, how you approach it and say a broadband galaxy shot where there's no filter on is slightly different. But each way, once you learn it, gives you another sort of feather in your cap. Again, I'm learning myself, so by no means is this, a professional showing you stuff. Just what I've picked up. You might spot something there you've not seen before, and I'll just go through my things as well. But Luca here is really good. He goes obviously through quite a few things. Just on the pic, there's a few things to change as well. Some of the comments mentioned it. Bill Blanche and stuff is really good, which is utilized, so shout out to him as well. And there's a whole host of other ones. Quiver Laser Geek, and I mentioned these in my other video, which is one back if you look at it. Adam Blocks does some really good guides, very knowledgeable, and there's a whole host of other things. So anyway, Vaonis Vespera, let's crack on. So this is my desktop, but this is PixInsight. So let's get rid of that. This is the image. So what we're essentially looking at here is that. So essentially everything in here is this is just the folder where the initial images are, all the FITS files, because remember I collect FITS, don't collect JPEGs, and I've got the JSON files there because I want it to get the verbosity up, so it tells me everything that it's doing. If there's any errors, I want it to be as talky as possible, chatty even. So all I've done is I've just gone and pulled that 1138 TIFF into PixInsight, and that's where we're at. So some of you will be, I imagine, processing from TIFF. The other video I go into talks about processing FITS files, but for right now, I'm just going to assume that you're attempting to process TIFF. So that's what we're going to go through with this. So here we go. Anything I need to mention beforehand? Well, it doesn't matter, we'll go through it. So the first thing I do is I want it, because TIFF here doesn't have any FITS header information. So what I like to do, first of all, is I'm going to just forgetting things because, not that, we go over to, you'll find in his drive there, basically this is it here. When you come in to the zip file, all you got to do is drag these icons into PixInsight, and you'll see me do that right now when I find out where there they are. So we're going to drag them in. There's his files and stuff in there, and I'm just going to utilize his files there because they're these icons, because this icon set's much cleaner. It's easier to just run straight from, and it'll certainly do. It's what I started with, essentially a version of this. Some of these may give you an error if you haven't got the Russell Croman RC Astro stuff, but again, these are costly. There's a cost element to PixInsight itself. It's about $329, about €300. I'm going to try and do a follow-up video trying to process Vaonis Vespera stuff specifically free. And there's other programs I want to get because I want the whole suite. They're just a different tool. So having multiple tools to process, I think, is a good thing. So it's one of the areas I also want to develop myself. So we are going to do PixInsight. If you haven't got this particular product and you want to do that, I will try and get that. Just sound off in the comments. But I consider this like the Photoshop of astrophotography as a tool. Most everybody who I watch utilizes it. It'll probably have most of the development for. When you have repositories, we have a lot of repositories here that I utilize. It's really good, so it gives you additional scripts and things in terms of tool sets to use, which I really like. So, long story short, let's get going, because I said this wouldn't be long. So, enough of me waffling. First thing you want to do is basically, we'll just save that as the native file. There it is there, XISF. 32-bit. Some of the processors that we do here need 32-bit precision. It's one I always do anyway, and away we go. And that's now in XISF format. One of the other things I mentioned in the other video as well is that with, let's see if I still have it open. I should do. Yes, I do. This is the PixInsight. So this was how you download it. So you log into the website in the software distribution. This is where you would then download the program itself. But also, I highly recommend, if you've got the space, the Gaia DR3 SP datasets. Download each of these. They're quite a large amount of space, but stick them on fast storage. It's really beneficial. Then you go to process, down to Gaia, and then to the little cog. And as you can see on DR3, ignore the DR2 stuff, it's old. You can see there that all mine are on the C drive. It's a fast 4TB NVMe SSD. They're there, and they'll reference it, and also for the SP information. We utilize that to image solve, which we're going to do in a second, and we use that to do the color correction, spectrophotometry stuff. So, what I want to do now is I want to locate this image, and just basically, so it has an awareness of a part of the sky it's looking at. So we want to image solve it. So we come down to image analysis, image solver. Right, so it was NGC 2237. I got it right this time. Hooray. It's the Rosette Nebula. Call it Rosetta sometimes. Just. And I took this. When did I take this? That is a good question. I took this. There we go. 18th. 8:30. Okay. Hang on. Yes, 18th, that'll do. It's near enough. About 18:30. Now, as I mentioned in the other video, our focal distance and our pixel size. Where do we get that from? That's really quite important. They're quite important to this particular thing. We can get them off the website. So if you scroll down, the focal ratio, or focal length, sorry, of this particular scope is 200 mil. It's, as you can see when we get into the bits and pieces, it's an f4 lens. But this also has here, where it says small yet powerful, the IMX462 sensor. We can see that it's a 1/2.8 format and a 2.9 micron pixel size. So that's the information we need. And you can find on most other ones. This scope's in f4. The new one will be f5, the Vespera Pro, which will be interesting because that'll help with my new filter that I got for it. Yes, we're in here. So 200, 2.9. I also tend to put in my location information because where I take this from, but I am not going to show that on the screen because that is going to literally be my exact location of where this was taken, and I'd rather not. So, but I'm going to just punch that in here. And it's that value there. And it was a height of that. Right, I'm going to let that run. You'll see this down here. Let's go. So now it's going to find the Gaia information on the C drive, and it's going to do its thing. And what it's going to do is going to try and find what the measurement of the center of the image, the top left, top right, and bottom left are. and it's going to then go and find its best information, which it has done. Now, we have that information, which is superb. Now, the next thing is there's a slight gradient on here. You can see we've got a little bit of a gradient. So what I like to use, I believe it's under the repository for it's one of these, and it escapes me at the moment, but it's for Graxpert. I will probably put it in the, there it is there, it's under the toolbox for Graxpert. So let me just have a quick look, see at what that is. Repository. Just making sure I can spell, which isn't always the case. Yeah, so we put it in, and again, there's loads of videos. Half of the people I linked to on YouTube will put this in. They all posted about it when it was released. It's just about picking the right location. Okay. Right, DevOps, I think it is. Right, so I believe the repository is that one there. devops.de/PixInsight/utilities. You put that in, you run update, you'll then get it in. So what this does is, before we had to literally take it outside of PixInsight, get Graxpert to run on its AI mode, and then bring it back in as a separate image. Now it just allows us to run it straight from the app, which is fantastic. I like to put no smoothing on. You can have a look. We'll have a look at the background model. Subtraction, and then go. And it will then do that thing that we need. Dum 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 dum. Away it goes. This will give us our results in just 1 second. And that is the gradient it's taken out. There we go. So if I just do and redo it, you can see it's a lot better in terms of its functionality there. Now, again, for me, I don't really like to use the TIFFs because they're quite noisy. There's better ways to process and just to get that absolute last drop of quality out. So I would recommend doing Fitz processing, which is why I did the previous video on how to get PixInsight with its batch processing script. Because a lot of you'll find a lot of the advice that's out there for PixInsight is great, especially fantastic, but they're not targeted for a Vaonis Vespera. They're not looking through that lens. You have to do a few things slightly different to cater to this particular instrument. I'm pointing over there because that's where mine is currently recharging. It's been outside doing its thing tonight, which is incredibly rare because it's got some clear sky for a little bit. So I've got more of this data, you see. So anyhow, so we ran Graxpert on it. Now it's still in a linear format. To explain what linear means, because somebody did ask what did I mean by stretching. If we have a look at the process of this image in a histogram, and I did do this in the previous thing, but some people might not be watching that, so I'll do it there. You can see how most of the data is way crammed on the spike on the left. So in that bit spike there is all this information. Because if we have a look at it, bear in mind I'm doing a STF function here. So basically STF screen transfer function. If I went up to here, this is just a shortcut for it. If I hit this little reset button here, way up there and do that. Oh, because this is open. Unlock it, you idiot. Why is that doing? Oh, maybe because I did it up there, is it? There we go. So it's because I had that active. That is what it looks like. What this is doing is auto stretching, which is what that button up there is. The link stuff, it isn't linked at the moment, so I just auto stretch. What this is doing is not stretch the image. The data is still, as we saw, in a linear format, it's still not out of this spike. But what it's done is it's showing us a preview basically, which is very interesting. So there's a few things I like to do still in this linear stage, which we're going to do now. So just to show you like a super quick way. And again, everything I'm going to show you now, it's going to be quick. It's going to be fairly rough and ready. You can take your time. You can spend each step really dialing it in just how you want. I'm going to go at this fairly ham. So normally I would be going a lot gentler, taking my time. We're not going to do that here because I don't want the video to be extra long. So, blur. This has been updated recently. I'm going to take that down to about 21. 90 is a little bit too overkill for me. Let's try just 60. And you can then drag this into an instance, or we can just apply it. But let's just apply it. This instance of, or my version of PixInsight, I've actually installed the acceleration, CUDA acceleration, as I have a 4090 graphics card. The Equivalent Geeks had a video on how to do that, so if you have one as well. And again, if we just undo that, you can see what it's doing. You see how nice that is in terms of what it's doing to the stars here. It really does help just correct a lot of that stuff. And then the next thing up is I like to do noise exterminator. This one, I'm going to put it at 69, keep the detail level, drag an instance into it, and you'll see this come out really quite nice. Just undo that again, redo that. That is night and day, and that's why I really like these programs. Very nice, very good and quick and simple. Now the one other thing I will do, which is the color correction. You don't really have to do this, but I tend to like it anyway. If we come into process, we come down to spectrophotometric color calibration. Now this is not broadband, so I've got to change this because this is a narrow band using the dual band filter. Narrow band just means it's only allowing hydrogen and the oxygen signal through. And for that, we need to come down here to photon flux. Now, usually you could go narrowband filter and put in the bandwidth of each of them. You can do that and just make sure it's on the line. But I found that just using the L-enhance isn't so bad. The L-enhance is fairly close to the, in my testing when I've like zoomed in and checked them both. So I just like the Sony CMOS with the L-enhance over each of them. What you then do is you use the little preview up here. And I want to pick a part of the sky where there's not much, there's certainly no nebulosity in there. So you need to make sure there's no hidden nebulosity. Just a quiet part where there's not many bright stars or anything. Just super quick in there like that. And then what you do is on the region of interest, you tell it that I want to use that preview as a region of interest. I want to generate, apply color calibration, and then go. And you can see it's a way to get that information, again, straight from our C drive. And it's done a fair job of that, I think. So if we then take off the preview, we need to readjust our stretch. There we go. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is still in, and you can see it's starting to bring out, and obviously this would need multiple hours, but you can start to see the nebulosity that's sitting in the background and just how dusty space can be. So a lot of the times thinking, oh, it's not perfectly black. Sometimes it's not. It really isn't, and depending on what you're looking at. Now this is, as far as I'm concerned, ready to go into a non-linear state, i.e. we're going to stretch the image. And one of the things I like to use, you can use GHS, which is a particular script in here. I'm not going to do that. Just for this one, I'm just going to show you a super quick one, simple one, which is the Easy Processing Suite. Now that is, let's have a look. Which one is the Easy Processing Suite? Let's Google that. Let's Google that because I can't remember which one it is. Again, I got that from Luca Batico video as well. He really liked it. And I really liked it for the very simple reason. It's very quick and easy. So it's that one. Ta-da! So this one here, elvet.ch, PixInsight updates, easy processing suite. Stick that in your repository, update it, and you will then get it coming through, which we are about to do just a tick. Over there, first of all, there we go. Okay, nice. That back, and let's go. Script, easy processing suite, easy soft stretch. Hit the button. Ta-da! We now have a stretch. Let's just check. Ta-da! Stretched information. Now, what do we want to do now? So the next thing is I want to separate the stars out from the nebula because I want to work on the nebula. I don't want to mess around with the stars. And again, you might want to do, once you learn a little bit more, put in a non-dual band, non-narrow band, or not using the dual band filter stars, and then load them in. It's very much like Photoshop. If you're very good with like image editing, think of it in layers, although it doesn't really work in layers. If you think of the stars as a layer, you can lift them out and put them back in with this tool, you see. So stars exterminator, or star exterminator. Do not want to do that. Generate star, on-screen stars. Bang that across like that, and you'll see, again, it's computer accelerated. So instead of minutes, it takes seconds. Ta-da. And there we go. Then what I can do, I'm just going to rename that stars. And I'm going to minimize it. One of the cool things about this program is you can just have things off to the side. Okay. Now, this is our nebula, just by itself, all stretched. And what you can do, which is quite nice in PixInsight, I can just left drag this off, and I've created a copy. Don't know why it went all the way down there, but here is an image clone. So again, you can do this before you even like do that full stretch, and so you can keep a linear version. And I can just move that one up over there, and we're going to work on this clone. So what are we going to do? First of all, well, we're going to come up to, where has he got his stuff? Because these aren't my indicators, aren't my regular stuff. So he's probably used the narrowband normalization, has he? There's a really cool one I also utilize, which is super simple as well. Yeah, we can do narrowband normalization. So if we do palette of hydrogen, oxygen, oxygen, which basically means hydrogen's in red, oxygen's in green, RGB, and oxygen's in blue. We can then, now one of the things you've got on here, you'll notice I've opened it up and nothing's really happened. One of the really cool things you can do down here as before, this drags it to an instance, this runs it, this brings up a real-time preview. This one in any other window tends to reset whatever's going on. I want to see a preview of what's going to happen. So there you go. There's a preview with its current settings. You'll see if I change the mode, the preview changes. Yeah. So you would have to pick a one that you particularly like. We could put the lightness on preserve. We can then do the blend amount. So say for there. We can then maybe boost the O2. There we go. Maybe not quite that much. On mode 1. Take off, and you can play with this to your heart's content. You really can. Maybe boost. Yep. Boost that up. Keep going. Oh, it won't let me boost that. Okay. So just bring it down a little bit. Yeah. But first of all, before we do that, I'm going to just go into curves. I just want to, again, I can bring up a preview. I just want to keep on here, and I'm just going to sample just whereabouts. All I'm doing here is I'm moving over the image. I just want to see where on this curve. So obviously this is the shadows, all the way to highlights, there's the midtones, where we are in terms of that. So if I just give it a very gentle S there, just to boost it a little bit. too much, just about that. And again, I've spent hours literally just on each episode, but you can do that. I don't need to drag it onto the instance because this is just showing me preview. I want to execute that and close that down, get rid of the preview there. So we'll have to move to the clone. Again, we still have what it looked like because we're doing this to a clone, remember. So we go back into Narrowband. We want to bring up a preview again. Word one, I like that. That's pretty good. I'll have just the tiniest boost to O. Do we need to boost the highlights? No. Not at all. Maybe just a tiny bit. There we go. Now, I'm liking that, so I'm just going to apply it. And you can see, now that's applied. From here, what we can do, we can go, and I want to go get a yellow mask. So a lot of the really cool things that from what I've learned, from what I've seen people do, it's about mask work. Basically, similar to, you want masking to be as detailed but as easy as possible. So you just want to pick a particular point of your image and you want to do something to it. That is kind of how it boils down to doing this kind of thing. So we're going to pick the yellow mask here. And I'm going to drag it over. These are Bill Blanchard scripts, by the way, that he's utilizing, and they're really, really good. Now, that's quite sharp, so I don't want to obviously just edit those things. So I'm going to drag in a bit of mask blur, which is quite good. And that gives me a nice little mask. So what I'm going to do now with this mask, which is quite good, I'm going to take this thing here, left, and I'm going to drag it, just park it underneath there, and you'll see it turns that like that. I'm just going to minimize that as well. As you can see, it's gone all red because what it's doing is we are only editing at the moment those particular bits that I've allowed through. Everything else is protected. I can right click mask and I can invert that mask, so I can only affect everything other than what I've got the mask working. But I just want to actually see the mask, so I'm just going to hit show mask there. The mask is still applied, as you can see up here. What I now want to do is come into curves, and this is essentially the work you're going to be doing. I want to get red, and I want to, oops, first of all, I'm going to reset. I want to bring up my preview. I want to boost red. Get it up a bit. There we go. Get the outside kicking. So, then I want to get green, and I'm going to do an S on here. Like that. Pull it down at the bottom. Maybe not quite that thing. Maybe a bit like that. Yep. And then we're going to execute that. Obviously, it's previewing again. I don't want to see that, so I'm going to reset it. We'll see that it's there. If I get rid of the preview, you can see we now have that on there quite a bit. I now want to touch a little bit of the blues here. I want to make the blues a little bit better, but we still have our yellow mask on here. So one thing I will do, I'll just have a quick look at the saturation. And if we look at just the yellows where we are, right, we tend to be in the bottom part here. So if I come up here, the preview, just boost it a bit, see what it looks like. And you can color this to whether you want to be natural. It's totally up to you. This is the creative part where you get to have fun. Let's just say we want to do that. Again, you would be taking your time. You would be going through each of these and having a lot of fun with it. And you can get in all sorts of like where you're bombing all over the place. But let's say we're going to do that. Get rid of our preview. We now have this. I want to get rid of the mask. So what I can do is right click mask and remove mask, and you can see it's now dropped off there. We still have the yellow mask there. That is still a mask. I can easily drag that back, so you can still keep them. You don't have to get rid of them, and that's there. Now, what I want to do now is I want to get my blue mask out and drag it over. Now, it hasn't quite got the bit that I'm interested in. Let's have a look at see whether that's gonna not quite, but let's just You know what it is? Let's just... And again, you can really finick this so we put a thing around it. I'm just showing you like a super quick thing here. So what we're going to do is going to put that mask over here. Minimize you again. And bring up curves. Going to go into blue. I'm going to boost up. No, well, we're not going to do anything first. We're going to bring up our preview. I always forget to do that part. And again, you can create all sorts of really curious spines and everything as well. So it's not a case of waiting hard. I think what I want to do, actually, is probably just bring the saturation up. Where are we with this? So you're right over here. Don't quite like that either. That's weird. Right. Ugh. Yeah, it's not going to be, it tends to be just that little bit there, which is the bit that I'm looking at. What the heck? Brings that little bit up there quite a bit. And I run with that. Now, what I showed you before was that I couldn't really get it with that blue mask before. So what I'm going to do now, show you another little thing in here. So if we do mask generation, range selection, I'm going to go running off the actual brightness just to see the bits and pieces. So we're going to bring up a screen, preview, and let's try and nab just that bit that I'm interested in. Bring it down a bit. We'll just have a look at exactly where we are. Probably need to beat that up. Bring it up this way. There we go. And got a little bit too much of the. So I'd say something maybe around like that. And then I'm going to bring up the fuzziness a bit. Get that smoothness right up. Do not want to have it jagged edged. Yeah. Something like that. Again, I'm going just quick here. This is I wouldn't normally take this long. So we're just going to range selection it like so. We have our range mask. We're going to get rid of the old mask. So we come in here, mask, move mask. So remove the old sign. Let's bring on the range mask again. Just drag it just below. Applies it. We're just going to minimize it out of the way. Range mask can go out of the way. And our real-time preview is still here. We'll bring that up in a second. We come into curves. Real-time preview. And let's see what happens when we blow the blue up. Hey. There we go. So we can have just a little bit of, you can go like, hey. Very, very fruity. But let's just give a little bit of blue there. And again, like so. And then maybe we want to just add a wee bit saturation to it. Just to really stand out. Maybe not that much. Maybe about there. Yeah. And in that section we could even add just, if you wanted to, just a little bit of different. Again, this is where your creativity can come in. It doesn't have to be every image you ever see really from NASA or anything has been they've drawn up their own palettes, the Hubble palette, SHO palette. You're trying to bring out some of the visual aspects of it and make it look pretty. That's, you know, let's be honest, that's an important aim. Let's say we want to do that. Obviously, we're not going to do that. And there we are. There's a sort of there. We still have a little bit of green in there, which we can even mask. I'm going to remove that mask. Let's just bring. Is there a green in there? No, there isn't. Right. Let us now, because there's no mask on there. Let's go into curves. Go into the main one. Preview back up. What if I brought it down a bit, then also just quite that much, probably just the highs. Again, how much you wanna really jazz it down, because we lose a lot of the nebulosity around here. If you, again, you don't want to make blacks too black. It doesn't, space isn't 100% black. Is the best way I've heard it described. So really just, again, I'm just, you know, doing a bit of pumping up, and you can really give it a weird thing. You can pull out the information. You can then maybe just say execute that, do this, then come into something here, and just not that one, sorry. You know, just pull in something completely nuts. This is the whole point. Just experiment with the program. You might like, oh, that's great. It's giving us the red I want. Completely up to you. So let's just say to hell with it. Let's just go with that, right? And you're going, okay, love it. There is my image. Now, one thing we want to do first of all, I just want to do one last sharpen. Now you can use unsharpen, the unsharpened mask, but I find it quite, you've got to be very delicate with it. If I just bring up the stars again, if we just have a look at the stars, do I need to do anything in terms of a bit magenta there? Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll hit them, see if it makes a difference with SCNR. This is, it gets rid of green. Yeah. Helps a little bit. Oops. Come back, stars. There we go. A little bit. It just helped a little. I think we'll leave it like that. So there is our nebula. Gonna just put a little bit of, and what you can do is you can come down here and you can fit the view, you can zoom to fit. So obviously let's just zoom to fit there. Bring that back out. But you can also do, I believe it's that one. Which one is it? One of them allows you to zoom in. I can't remember which. It's late. It's been a long day. Yes. But anyway, let us do what I'm going to try and do. I don't really want to touch, well, there's no stars for this to touch, so I don't really care. I don't want to go too harm on it. I'm going to be really quite gentle with it. Let us try 40%. I want to look at mainly this. I just want to try and get a little bit sharper. And yeah, just stand up. Maybe that's a little bit too, but let's say you're the person who really likes pin sharp detail. And then what we can do is we can maybe just take a little bit of edge off it. Bring this right down to a nice, say, 35% with a bit of noise reduction. There we go. Now, how to bring things back together. Really, it's quite simple with the tools. And we can get rid of these masks now. We don't need them. So we can delete that icon. Yep, don't care. Go away. You don't even have to leave them. Just leave them there, really. Now, what we want to do is we want to say stars for rescreening, starless for rescreening, and then rescreening. So we just drag stars, drag it onto the stars. We then drag starless onto the starless image. And then you drag the rescreen onto both, and ta-da, you have said image. And there you have, I'm just going to minimize all this lot, out the way, go away. You have, I said go away, buddy. Yeah. You have an image that is being done. You can then dynamic, where are we? Where is, I can't see it for looking. Where are you? Dynamic crop, ta-da. You can then go, actually, I just want to bounce it a bit more. Let's make it sort of here. Yeah, I like that. And then just go, okay. Ta-da. There's your image. And you can then maybe have a look at looking a few other, to be honest with you, once you've integrated back together with the stars, that's when you would do final things. You might want to then load this into Photoshop. You might have another application which you're very familiar with. But PixInsight, and this is just me scratching the surface here, there's some really, really nice things you can do in terms of, especially with that mask generation. There's also ways you can look at, I believe when it's the, it is full width, half maximum. Where are you? It's one of the stars to actually look at to find the exact size for the blur. But listen, I'm trying to keep things simple. I don't want to blow anybody's head, but that is how you essentially do it. A lot of mask work you can play around with, getting into curves, pulling the masks over, right click, removing masks. You can invert the mask if you wish, and that's what essentially this program boils down to. Again, you can then drag. It's super easy. You want to drag. Don't know why it's doing that, but there you can drag clones off. We also still, if you remember, still have this. This is after we did the easy stretch. You can easily just pull another clone. You can even use a clone and sacrifice it for creating a mask. It's all doable. The way this software works, it's quite good like that. There's a couple of other things when with certain processes you use, you'll need to have a clone because they are undoable. We can't right click and undo them. They are, they're gone essentially. So you want to use clones, but this is a way for you to look at it. You can go in there and go, oh, actually I don't quite like that color. Go back, retry, load these things in again and try again. See what works for you, see what you like. This is obviously quite bright, it's quite saturated quite well. Really trying to highlight the sort of dark nebulosity and just the depth of it really. Again, just doing different colors, and we can spread this out. I've seen full rainbow versions of this where we start, at this and work all the way at indigo. So how you want to do it is up to you, but this is really quite nice tools here. We haven't even utilized a lot of them. The stuff, that is another way. You see these got the for HT stretch unlinked and linked RGB. If you don't want to use if I load that back up and I do undo start terminator and then I do undo histogram transformation, this will now be back in linear format. Let's just check. So this should be back if we look at its histogram. Yep, all the data is smudged in there. What you can do is we just go HT stretch unlinked, then we just do that, restretch it. Yeah, there you go. And that now is stretched. So we have a look at the histogram transformation. There you go. Slightly different easy stretch, but this is using Bill Blanch and scripts. Again, really, really quite nice to then go and work on and bring out. But again, you can see all the dust and data, and more data is always better. So that's what we're trying to do with this project. So if you have Rosette Nebula data and you want to participate with Mario did a post recently on it, by all means, fire him over an email or a message, and we'll get that done. So hopefully you found that useful. Again, it's not exact science on that. I've gone through that really, really quick in terms of each of the stages. I like to adjust and just tweak things out and just with an image that I have in my mind for each of the ones that I want to go through. But it's just give you an idea of how I got to them. Treat them in the way, if you think of it like Photoshop and just go through with layers, we want to take the stars out and we want to deal with the nebula itself. Now, if we're processing a broadband galaxy, some steps are similar, but the process is different. So it's about learning how to process a broadband, because obviously with Vaonis Vespera, it's a one-shot color, whereas with the pro cameras, you'll be using a mono camera, so you'll be using a red filter, a blue filter, a green filter, Luma filter. You'll be using hydrogen alpha, S2, O3. all those things require a different process. One of the things you can do is you can then separate this out. So if you go into process, channel management, we can channel extract. So we can literally extract this image from into RGB. So if I just do that now, just to show you. And there you go, look. That is that image separated in blue, green, red. Yeah? So there's a lot you can do to go in and just disassemble the picture and then reassemble it how you want. But there's some fantastic resources out there. I'll stop waffling now. My name's Liam. Crazy Ivan is my handle. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.